Alex made his only shot of the night tonight. Double team, goes to Booker inside. Cross-court pass to Ingles, touch pass to Exum, sets his feet, fires. X marks the spot. Dante Exum with a three. 5 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists in 10 consecutive minutes of play.
This is Steve Novak. We are ready to tip it off. Are you? Let's do this.
Good morning. Welcome to Tip Off. David Locke coming to you from Orlando, Florida, where the Jazz will play the Magic tonight. Hope you enjoy the tip-off today. We've got a bunch of stuff for you. We'll break down the trade. Might take a minute to try to look at a video of a play or two from the other night. Surprising plays in the Memphis-San Antonio game that I watched, and get you some Jazz insight. Hope you're well. Hope you – I'm warming on that music. It's kind of mellow. It's low-key. We're hanging in the morning. We're having our cup of coffee together. Maybe that music works for our road games together. I am back at full strength. Feel good. Not that you really care about that, but I just thought I'd share. Maybe you do, and in which case, then I apologize. Marin cares. And she's, she always sends me the latest on the pharmaceutical needs that I need to get through various things. So she cares. All right. Hope everyone is well. And Jazz Magic today. Road home stuff still going on in 1280 The Zone. If you get a chance to donate, that would be great. Much appreciated. Those guys really are working hard, and it's neat to see DJ's had a real passion for the road home. So if he can continue, if you can help him out at all, that would be super. All right, let's dig right in today. Usually I have some other stuff to share with you. I don't think I do. Let's dig in right away and get to the NBA 5 for you today.
Exum on the right side, played 11 consecutive minutes. Being guarded tightly by Ennis, works the low dribble. Calls for a pick from Gobert. Now he comes back to his left, penetrates, stops, flares it out to Hood. Wide open three, got it. Dante Exum was on the edge of disaster that entire possession. Held it together, flattened the defense, kicked to Hood for a wide open three. Jazz by 16.
All right, so the big news in the NBA, obviously, is the move by Dallas to acquire Rajon Rondo. A few thoughts on this. I tweeted a lot about it, but the first thing I would say is I get it, right? They're going for a championship, and they have to do something because as crazy as the Western Conference is, they're probably not good enough right now. They've got to do something. That's something. That's Rajon Rondo, and it's really very similar to when they traded Devin Harris for Jason Kidd. And in fairness, I hated that trade. I thought that was a terrible move by Dallas when they traded Devin Harris for Jason Kidd, and it ended up winning them a championship. So the logic of why you make the deal and whether they should have done the deal or not, when it doesn't look as though there's much of anything else that's available out there that could spur them along, it seems like that's – the only other choice they had, I think, would have been interesting is would have they been willing to try to gamble on the Lance Stevenson card and get Lance Stevenson, and then you play Monte with the ball, and you've got another physical defender, and maybe you get better defensively that way. Though I kind of side against going to get the bad actor. I think we've forgotten that Indiana was completely terrible in the second half of last season. They had worn out entirely playing with each other. And there's something to that. But with that said, Rondo's one of the 5 worst offensive players in the NBA. He still uses about 14 possessions a game, which is a lot. Boston hasn't been better defensively since 2010 with him on the floor. There's a little bit of a myth to who Rajon Rondo is as a player. Kevin Pelton writes and comments on the Low Post podcast correctly that any minute the ball's in Rondo's hand, it's not in Monte Ellis's hands. And so you're turning, instead of Monte Ellis being an incredible pick and roll player, you're turning Monte Ellis into a spot up shooter, which he's not very good. The spacing for the Mavericks is already precarious because of the fact that they don't have great shooters. I'm not sure I believe it works. Now, again, let me say it. I think you probably have to do it. There aren't a lot of other options, and the equation that Dallas had as it is was probably not enough to maybe even get out of the first round of the West, and they're great. That's how crazy the Western Conference is, and if Dirk's going to take less money, you're going to do all these things, you got to be going for it. the best part of Rondo to me for Dallas is he's a free agent at the end of the year. So if he is a mess and his body is really not come around and then at least he's gone at the end of the year. You're not stuck with him for 2 or 3 years, and you're not torpedoing your entire final run with Dirk Nowitzki. But I don't love it. I actually, my comment on it is, if I'm New Orleans or Phoenix, I think you have a larger chance of making the playoffs today than you did before the trade. Do I think that's what's going to happen? No. But I think they have a larger chance to make the playoffs than they did before the trade. In other words, there's a chance it goes really awry. There's a chance it goes really wrong. And will be curious to me to see whether or not that actually happens. Now, Rick Carlisle is the master. Rick Carlisle has been able to take more second, redone lineups and free agents and roster turnover than any coach in the NBA. For as great as Pop is, and I'm not I'll never win the battle that Carlisle's a better coach than Pop. I think he might be, but I don't think I'll ever win the battle. And Pop's great, so why would I fight that battle? But Pop is running the same roster out there, running the same detailed things. Carlisle's getting a brand new roster every single year and finding a way to succeed with it, which to me is a much more difficult job, and it's really pretty awesome. So there's a level where I kind of buy that, Carlisle can probably figure out how to get this thing done a little bit more so than anyone else can. The other one yesterday is I watched on the plane flight, instead of watching Orlando, which I'll do today, I watched the Memphis-San Antonio fourth quarter and 3 overtimes and was taken with a few things. The consistent, relentless effort that existed from Memphis and San Antonio was really awesome. The trust amongst teammates was really awesome. The awareness and knowledge of each other's teammates and how they play was awesome. And then I watched Golden State, Oklahoma City last night, and that same thing came through. Relentless effort, incredible speed. Holy smokes, by the speed by which these teams play. Look like Oregon's offense in college football. But the other one is just the continuity. As much as the Warriors have a new coach, these guys have all played together for 3 years now. Andre Iguodala for 2, but everybody else for 3 or 4 years. Oklahoma City, really, everyone on that team has now played together for an extended period of time. Memphis, all those guys have played together for, Costa's probably the latest addition to that team 2 years ago. San Antonio, there hasn't been an addition in 3 years, and you can see it. And that's something that we probably have to realize. We're not going to be nearly as good as any of those 4 teams. We don't have that kind of talent. But there's also a level where letting our guys play together and try, we're going to have such roster turnover here for the next 4 or 5 years. It's going to be hard to get to that point. And back to what I was saying about Carlisle, that's what makes Carlisle so impressive, is that he has had that roster turnover and been able to somehow find a continuity to what they do. But that jumped out at me on that. The other one that jumped out at me, and I don't have time, I was going to go back and get these plays today, but I've got I'm looking at my schedule today. I don't think I have time to do this. There were some brilliant plays in that game, but there also were some incredible bonehead plays. In fact, San Antonio, who, they're the world champs and they're the model for everything. And I actually even shared this with Quinn in the sense of gosh, you should see this just so that you remember, you think, you get these poor coaches get caught in their bubble and they're the only ones, their players are the only ones that are idiots. Or God, I can't believe the mistakes we make. Holy smokes. San Antonio had this game won twice against Memphis and made the most absurdly terrible plays that I mean, incredibly. Boris Diaw grabs a rebound at the end of the fourth quarter and the game's over and throws it away. And then at the end of the first overtime, the game's over again, and Manu Ginobili grabs a rebound and throws it away. And the game was over. They on both circumstances, if they just held on to the ball, the game was over. It's stunning. Here, I actually have found a way to get them for you. Here, I'll pull them up. It's stunning, and it's a great reminder, at least in my opinion, it's a great reminder that, those guys are making silly mistakes too. I mean, this is here, I'll open up this clip for you. So here it is, and it's just going to be a little clip, and nothing like there's no earth shattering here. Okay, shot. Boris Diaw rebounds. There's 17 seconds left in the game. San Antonio is up 3. The game's over. He only has to make one free throw and the game's over. And he throws it away. It's an incredible, watch this. Game over. What's he doing? Right? Like, how does he possibly make that play? Okay, well, it wasn't once in that game. It was twice. Here's the next one. Again, stunning. I will get the screen share up for you. So Diaw rebounds, gives it to Ginobili. There's 27.3 seconds left. They're up by 2. Okay, so in theory, they've got to run a play. Watch this. What's he doing? How does he throw that pass? What was he thinking? Incredible to be reminded, at least in my opinion, that San Antonio does the same things. They blew a championship in Game 6 doing that too. So it's a good reminder, at least in my opinion. Those are the NBA 5 today. And I don't think I have another silly highlight for you. I could just play Dante making shots and doing things again over and over. All right, let's go to the Jazz stuff. Little limited on time. I almost tempted to start on questions, but great feature by Aaron Falk on Rudy Gobert in the Salt Lake Tribune. Make sure you read it. Rudy's been hard for me to explain to you guys. And I think Evan Fournier actually does it in the last quote of the article. I mean, there's a real toughness and nastiness and jerkness and meanness and to Rudy inside of an incredibly well-educated, thoughtful, intellectual, nice man. And I think the first might override. I think his overriding issue is an unquenchable thirst to be great. So it's good, but I think that Aaron did a nice job of trying to portray that a little bit. The other part that was not in that article that I don't know if a lot of people know about Rudy is that his first sport was boxing. Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson are his heroes. He ended up hurting his hand when he was boxing, and that's actually how he ended up playing basketball. But he was going to be a boxer. Can you imagine a 7'2" boxer? I don't think it works particularly well, but it has, who knows? But that gives you a little bit of idea of his toughness too, right? So that he was a tough kid. His dad played American college basketball and professionally in France, but I don't believe that he was raised by his father. I think he was raised by his mother. And I don't know about brothers and sisters, but he's shared that with me before, and I have forgotten. So I'll get that for you. I had a funny conversation with him after the game the other day about how I screwed up his call on the Euro step, and he's like, "What did you think I was going to do?" I can't do his French accent, but even in the question was like, "Well, what did you doubt me?" I mean, that's a really interesting personality, but it's a personality that probably leads him to greatness. Speaking of personalities, interesting to talk to the guys about Dante. Very bright, very mature. They all believe he's going to be very good a few years away. But they all, you can see, they all, he's winning the guys over a little bit with his maturity, and he's not a wide-eyed. I asked somebody when he goes out at night, is he just like, oh my gosh? And they're like, no, he's a pretty cool cat. Like, he knows he's supposed to be here. And so it's interesting to watch Dante develop. We'll get to know him a little bit better, but he's calm, he's collected. He doesn't seem out of place. Think about this though. He goes out for dinner with, the other night, I think he went out with Gordon, Ingles, and Novak, right? Well, Steve's 10 years older than him. And Joe's 8 years, and Gordon's 6. It's a really different game, right? He also has been living on his own around older guys and in the institute and things like that for quite some time. But maybe he is really used to it already, and it's not a surprising circumstance to him for that. He's playing better. His shooting is crazy right now. It's non-sustainable. I fully do. Dante Exum is shooting in the last 5 games 61% and 7 of his last 12 from 3. Like, we'll take it, but it's a small sample size that's unrealistic to be able to be maintained. But his minutes are increasing, and there's no question that the coaching staff is gaining more and more faith in him, and the team's playing pretty well with him on the floor. So I would assume that we'll see that 6-minute substitution again, which I like because it also means the only thing it would be interesting to see is that 6-minute substitution is coming with Hood and Booker. I would be curious to see Dante playing some more minutes with the other 4 starters and see how he does. I also would love to see is if you took Trey off the floor and had Dante on the floor with Exum and Favors, could they defend? Is the Exum, Cantor, I don't know if I said that right. Cantor and Favors can't defend together, according to the numbers. This has been going on for 2 years. This is why Marvin Williams started last year, and the numbers this year would tell you that Ty was right with that decision. I'd like to separate Trey Burke out of that equation, at least mathematically, and see whether or not there's anything that could be going on there. I'll look these numbers up and see whether or not there's any level where it's just pure excessive dribble penetration from the outside, and then neither Ennis or Derek is long enough to be able to impact things, and so then they get exposed for their weakness. We'll see. It was an interesting article, by the way, by Zach Lowe and Grantland. He always does great work, but it was about the Warriors and how much they're switching, and it made me think if you have Dante Exum, Alec Burks, and Gordon Hayward playing together, they could switch everything defensively. Can't switch with Trey. He's too short. So, but that's an interesting concept that you could probably switch everything with those guys if they were all playing together. All right, let me take some questions from, what else did I have? Why do I have written down good TV? Gobert feature, Exum play, good TV. Oh, that's my daughter. That's my video call from my daughter on my phone. Honey, I'm just wrapping up my podcast. Can I call you back in like 30 seconds? Hi, honey. Do you want to watch the end of my podcast, or can I call you back in like 30 seconds, 45 seconds? You're going to watch the end while I'm doing it? Okay. All right. I'll put you right here so you're watching me finish it. All right. There's good trends. And, back to the other thing I was going to mention was since the Sacramento game, it was interesting. After the Sacramento game, went into the coach's interview, do the interview with Quinn, and he said, why am I so nervous doing this with you watching, by the way? I get more nervous than I just do this every day. I'm never nervous. But now that I have my little angel watching, I'm nervous. Watching with Quinn, talking with Quinn after the Sacramento game, he was really pleased with the effort and the play, and they'd lost that game. And again, kind of yesterday's theme, and Travis actually Henderson, our TV director and producer, pointed that out to me, that it was after that game that they were happy. If you look at it, since I went and ran a bunch of trends, including that Sacramento game, you can see things beginning to turn a little bit of a corner in the correct direction. I mean, the little victories, as we're talking about, are very noticeable since that. So hopefully that's a trend they can continue. I'm not sure we'll be able to muster up enough juice on every single game of the 6-game road trip, but hopefully we can get it tonight and play well and back-to-back in Charlotte, and maybe the gas is empty by the time you hit Memphis and they're so good it doesn't matter, and you get home and have Christmas and then start afresh after a few days off. All right, quickly to a question or two from Brandon Jensen. Seems like Dante Exum has made more of a concerted effort or drive, at least probe a bit. Do you think he is more confidence or improving conditioning? I think there's improving conditioning. I think there's a learning curve. I think the 8 turnovers against Chris Paul in the preseason impacted him. I think he's trying not to make mistakes instead of trying to make plays. I think he's small. I think he's weak. And so when he drives the basket, he gets sent to the third row. I think there's a lot going on, but there's no question that he's improving along the way. From Philip Malone in Australia, could you see a time where Quinn subs in Rudy for defense? He might also bring in Dante for defense. Dante's defense is good. His feet are terrific. His feet are long. His feet are quick. His length is terrific. So I do think that there's a lot he can do there. All right. Hey, do you have any questions about the Jazz, love? No? Do you want to make your debut on the podcast and share your thoughts about the team or anything? Or are we waiting for the dad and daughter podcast for later? You think we're going to get better? Yeah. Okay. Because we're just really young. You're right. You're very accurate. All right. The dad and daughter podcast. We'll have to start doing that sometime soon, right? Yeah. I got to hide you for a while, though, till you're a grown kid. All right, guys. That's the dad and daughter podcast. Hope you're all good. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.